Hey everyone, and welcome back to Redefine Radio, and welcome to the start of a brand new year. Yes, it is 2025. Happy New Year. I feel like 2024 treated us like it had somewhere to be, okay? Because I can't believe that the year went by that fast. I feel like I was just celebrating the start of 2024 and boom, we sped through the holidays. I didn't even really have a chance to get in the Christmas spirit because things went so incredibly quickly. And here we are in the first full week of 2025. Either way, y'all, I hope that you enjoyed your holidays with your family, your friends, your loved ones. I hope that you were loved on. I hope that you had a chance to reflect on the year that you survived and also have some time to rest and reset and prepare for the year that is ahead. This particular episode is going to be my personal recap of 2024. There was a lot that happened. There was a lot that happened in the last 12 months, and I want the opportunity to kind of recap it with you guys, talk about my personal journey because Redefine Radio is an outlet for other people to share their stories and reflect on their pivot journeys. But Redefine Radio was birthed out of my personal pivot story. And so I just want to kind of take the opportunity to talk to you guys and give you guys some updates on my personal journey. And then I'm going to reflect on everything that happened to me in the last year, how that has kind of tied into my pivot journey and what I'm hoping will happen and what I'm working towards in 2025. First off, 2024 for me was a transformational year. Um, I will be 35 this year, and 35 is a milestone birthday. I have spent the last 4.5 years of my 30s trying to figure out where my place is in this world. I spent the vast majority of my 20s kind of doing what everyone told me to do. I think like just like a lot of other people that we were fed this dream that if we did certain things and got our education and made a certain amount of money that was going to open up doors for us. And I find now that I sit at a juncture in my life where I have done everything that everyone told me to do, but the life that was guaranteed to me if I did those things still feels beyond my reach. And so I feel like year 34 for me was a year of me just saying, bump all that, you know, um, finally kind of coming into a confidence in myself to no longer try to live the life that was frameworked for me and more so to discover the life that I want to live for myself. 2024 asked a lot of questions of me, questions that have been a little tough and a little scary to answer, but questions that I think have given me a lot of clarity as to how I want my 2025 to look in the rest of my 30s into the rest of my life. 2024 also was a year that challenged me because if I'm being honest with myself, I'm asking for a lot of things that require me to be someone different than who I have been. And we a lot of times ask for blessings, but we don't ask to be the person who can handle those blessings, who can maintain the success that we are striving towards. And I had to come to that very real, harsh reality that some of the reason why I'm not as far as maybe I would like to be is because I have been holding myself back. And luckily, coming into my 30s, I had a therapist and I went through therapy and I started to realize that some of these things, and, I talked about it in episode 2 when I talked about the fear of success. Some of these things stem from childhood trauma, things that I've gone through in my life that have kind of taught me to play it safe and to remain small. But you can only use that as an excuse for so long. Eventually, you have to get to a place where it's like, I'm sick of this. I want to change. I want to grow. I want to let go of these things. And I want the life that I've always dreamed of. And so 2024 was the year for me to challenge myself to do hard things. I think I laid a framework for myself going into this year that I have the ability to do hard things. And so I'm going to do more of them in 2025. One of them is this right here, this podcast that had kind of been a few years in the making. I started on social media, trying to share my journey, trying to figure things out. I'd started a blog, but I wasn't really consistent and I wasn't enjoying the blogging process. And then I took a break because I just felt like the overconsumption of social media was causing me to feel like I had to be like everyone else. And it was causing burnout. And I work full time. So it's like, I'm not trying to have two full time jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want something that I can find enjoyment in that maybe can be monetized, but it does not have to be, and something that gives me a sense of purpose. But with the podcast, I kept talking myself out of it because I was like, who wants to listen to what I have to say? And in launching this podcast, this week has made a month since I officially launched. There are quite a few people in this world that want to hear what I have to say and feel like I bring value to the space. And so really, before I get started, in reflection of 2024 and what I envision for 2025, I really want to thank each and every one of you. Whether or not you're listening to me on a streaming platform like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google Podcasts, or you are a subscriber on YouTube and you watch me there. If you engage with my content on LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok, I really want to give you a heartfelt thanks for your support. It means so much to me. The feedback that I've gotten, not just from my circle of influence, but from people who don't even know me personally, who may have just seen my stuff pop up on their For You page or, have seen me on TikTok. The comments and the feedback and the support, the views, the likes, the subscribes, the shares, they all mean so much to me. And they have really validated the fact that I should be in this space and I should be hosting this type of platform for you guys to find your own inspiration on your pivot journey. So thank you so much. And I just want to grow this community even more in 2025. 2024, though, started off um, very emotionally heavy for me. So at the top of the year, I actually lost a close friend of mine from college. And it was a slow burn, to be honest. She died from an illness. She had gotten sick early in the month of January of 2024. She went to the hospital. She was in a coma. And our friend circle, a group of her close girlfriends, we basically for a 3 week stint prayed and prayed that she would make it out. We prayed for her family. We made sure that we were in contact with them to not only get updates, but to ensure that they were okay. She has a young daughter as well. So we wanted to make sure that her daughter was taken care of and that we could help and show up in that way until our friend was better because we had the faith that she would get better. We were talking about meal scheduling and who's going to cook what meal for the family and who's going to be on rotation to visit her in the hospital and help her through, potential like physical therapy until she got back to her old self. All of these things were being discussed for 3 weeks. And unfortunately, on January 31st of 2024, she did transition to her heavenly being. And that was difficult. It's particularly difficult for me because I lost my mother when I was very young. I was 8 years old. My mother was 34, which is the age that I am right now. And my friend had just turned 33, and she has a young daughter who is about that age, 8 or 9 years old. That experience was just a very stark and somber reminder for how much you have to value your life. Because at any moment, your number could be called. You don't know when that day will be. You don't know when, you don't know how it'll happen. You may not even get the chance to say goodbye or to do that one thing that you've been putting off. It was really, truly a reminder that you don't have time to waste with your life. And my dad always used to tell me growing up that youth is wasted on the young. And I never really understood what that meant, but now I understand in the concept that when you're young, you think you have so much time to do everything. And 30 is not old. But the circumstances I've gone through in my life have taught me that death calls anyone at any time. My friend lived a very full life. She loved to have fun. She loved her friends. She was the type of person that would plan an event detailed from A to Z, okay? But she loved to have fun because she had that understanding that, like, YOLO, you only live once. Not in the reckless way, but in the sense of, like, you want to create memories that will last you a lifetime. And you want to live a life that at the end of it, you don't have regrets. And that is something that I hold close to me even now as we're quickly approaching the 1 year anniversary of her death, that she lived a life that she did not have regrets over. There may have been things that she may have, wanted to do a little differently or wanted to shape out differently, but my friend really lived her life to the fullest and she encouraged all of us to do the same. So coming into the year with such an emotionally heavy circumstance kind of threw me out of whack. I'm an emotional eater. I kind of have like two extremes because if I'm super stressed or super busy with something, I will neglect eating. I will go hour stints without eating and then binge when I finally do. But if I'm emotional, like I'm sad or I'm angry or I'm frustrated, I will comfort eat and I will overeat. And I was doing a lot of that in that basically 3 to 6 weeks because she wasn't married until February. And even that was difficult. And the weeks that followed after were particularly difficult as well. But I found myself stress eating and I wasn't working out. So I, gained some weight and that affected how I viewed myself throughout the remainder of the year, to be honest. It threw off my creativity. It threw off my determination to get things done. It was a curveball that I was not expecting coming into the year. But it was an experience that I think was still beneficial because I reconnected with people who I had not talked to in a while, people that I still care about dearly. It was, although a somber reminder, it was a great reminder. Kind of going back to that idea of living the life that you want and not, living a life by someone else's playbook. It was a great reminder of doing just that because you don't know when this life is going to be over. So don't waste the opportunities that you do have from day to day. Um, the other thing that I have been navigating throughout the last year and about a half, I am in a romantic relationship. What people don't understand, especially if you've been single for a while and you've gone through some traumatic experiences with love, is just how much work a genuinely loving relationship can be. It's a lot of work. You have two people coming in to a relationship with all of their lived experiences over however many years they've been on this earth, with, trauma and baggage from previous relationships, from circumstances that have taught them to not be vulnerable, to not open up to people, to not trust people. And now you are in one of the most vulnerable relationships that you can be with someone that you know cares for you and loves you. It sounds really great in theory, but in practice, it takes so much work. I've learned a lot about myself, some good things and some not good things. I think that I've probably learned more about the things that I still need to fix and I still need to heal than, the things that I got down pat, and that is something that a healthy relationship will do. It will challenge you to become a better person. It will expose the parts of you that are not so great because a healthy relationship demands you to be a higher version of yourself. It demands total vulnerability. And this past year, I learned that I am not as vulnerable of a person as I originally thought I was. I'm very guarded. And I'm guarded in the sense that when I feel someone getting close enough to me to hurt me or to know very personal things about me, if I feel myself trusting that person, I will start to push them away because I am scared of the strength that they get from the weakness of my vulnerability. And what I've had to learn is first off, vulnerability is not a weakness. It's not. Vulnerability is a strength. The ability to keep your heart pure and loving and kind and nurturing, even after so much in this world has taught you otherwise. The ability to be resilient and believe that love is something that's attainable and achievable and maintainable, even in a world that will tell you that you're not deserving of it or that people don't have the ability to do it. That is a strength. You will never experience the fullness of love without putting yourself in a position to get hurt. This relationship has been very healing for me because, and it's weird. Okay, let's touch on that for a second. Healing is a very weird concept. When we think of healing, we think like bows and ribbons and meadow fields full of flowers. Like we think that healing is like this beautiful thing. Healing is ugly. It's nasty. Healing doesn't feel good because healing makes you confront the things that have happened to you and the parts of yourself that are dark and ugly and traumatic and hurtful so that you can release them. That's what healing is. And most of us don't want to do that. Most of us go through life just kind of floating. Most of us rely on our routines. Wake up, eat, go to work, come home, do some chores, spend time with friends, go to sleep, do it all over again. So we're in a state of like numbness and we're really screaming to feel something, but we're afraid to feel because we don't know what's going to be on the other end of that. And healing is what gets you out of that rigmarole and that routine and challenges you to feel again in ways that you've repressed just to survive. And this relationship has been very healing for me. It's dug up pain and trauma that some of it I didn't even know was there, but things that I thought that I had truly gotten over. And you really don't know if you've gotten over something until someone triggers you, until a situation triggers you. You think that you're a healed, healthy person until you have to be in a relationship with other people. That's what tests whether or not you're truly healed and healthy. And I've been tested and I'm still being tested, but luckily it's with someone who I absolutely feel is worth it, someone who loves me and is willing to do the work as well. It's still hard. It's still very, very hard, but it's been healthy. It's been healthy. What has been hard as well in navigating a romantic relationship is the competing priorities that come from pursuing your own personal endeavors. And then for me, I'm a mom. So it's a constant battle over priorities and not over prioritizing any one area, making space and time for my partner, growing our relationship while also not allowing the relationship to keep me stagnant in my personal endeavors. That is challenging, especially as someone who is a recovering people pleaser, a recovering codependent person. I very much in my 20s was the type of person that would dump everything I had going on if I was in a relationship. Not trying to do that right now. My partner wouldn't let me do that anyways, wouldn't find that very attractive if I did it. But it is challenging because on the other end of that, you don't want someone who's too busy for you, right? A relationship doesn't grow unless the two people that are in it are intentionally moving the relationship forward. So that was a part of some of my 2024 challenges. My baby is growing up. There are so many times last year where I had to come to the realization that my baby is not a baby anymore. He will always be my baby, but he is not a baby. And I'm having to relearn who he is as a little person, respecting who he is as his own individual person, while also letting him know I'm not one of your little friends. Okay. Millennial parenting deserves an award. It does, because we are truly out here parenting kids in a way that we have never seen and in a way that was not practiced with us. All right. My dad is a boomer. It was very much do as I say, don't question me, don't cry, or else I'm gonna give you something to cry about. Okay. This whole talking about our feelings and rechanneling emotions and allowing him to speak up for himself, especially now when he is constantly questioning me about everything. Like, sometimes I don't want to gentle parent because these kids don't be gentle. They don't. They be very aggressive. And sometimes, I'm a thug. I be feeling like I need to show him, like, your mama will drop all of this right now. Okay, don't get it twisted. I will have to show you who raised me. Okay. But anyway, that has been a challenge as well. In the motherhood journey is just trying to figure out who is the kid in front of me and how can I best parent the child that's in front of me right now. Now we're going to get to the pivoting part of it. If you are trying to pivot, you got to understand that it's not going to happen overnight. I don't really know what I thought this process was going to look like when 5 years ago I realized there's got to be something more for me. I know I didn't think it would take 5 years. Again, I have done the networking and I've gotten the certifications and I have the degrees and all of that, but this is not for the weak of heart at all. It requires patience and it requires an unwavering faith in yourself and in the dream that you are pursuing. And it has had its very challenging moments. 2024 was no exception for me. But I think I've gotten to a place now where I'm going to stop waiting for someone to give me the opportunity. And I'm going to create the opportunity for myself. I've always said that I like being the underdog because I like proving people wrong. I like when people underestimate me because I love to surprise them. I always love having a certain air of mystery about me so that people think that they know, but then I get to show them you don't really know nothing, right? And I experienced that a few times throughout my legal career. I realized though that I started kind of to minimize that part of myself. And now in my pivot journey, I feel like I need to bring her back. The person who doesn't take no for an answer and the person who doesn't beg and plead for a seat at the table. I can make what y'all eating over there anyways. I'm going to make a meal that's so good that you're going to be asking to come sit at my table. That's the energy I'm on for 2025. I'm no longer waiting on anyone to give me the opportunity. I'm going to take it. And in deciding that I'm going to do that for myself, I am breaking through the fears that I've had of being seen, the fears of failure, the fear of success, the fear that I'm not good enough and not deserving. I'm breaking through all of that because I got something to prove. More so to myself than anyone else that I can do this, right? But 2024 was the year that made me realize that I didn't want to wait anymore. I'd been waiting for far too long. And nobody put me in timeout. I put myself there because I did not believe in myself enough to do the hard things and to challenge myself to be who it is that I want to become. Another thing that I navigated throughout 2024, the millennial generation is known as the sandwich generation because we're taking care of our kids and we're taking care of our parents. And let me tell you, it's really hard to watch your elders age. It's heartbreaking, truly. I already shared that I lost my mom quite a few years ago. My father, he's in his 70s. Me and my father are very close. And that has been really rough. It's been really, really rough to watch. The pandemic split us apart for quite some time. He took the pandemic very seriously from way earlier than America did. He was talking to me about COVID in like February of 2020. And he started getting masks and hand sanitizer and all of that. And he truly locked himself in the house for over a year. And when I finally saw him again for Father's Day of 2021, it was like I didn't recognize who I was looking at because he had aged so much. And he hasn't quite fully recovered from that, even, 3 years? Almost 4 years later. And that has been really, really rough to deal with because this is someone who was so strong. When I think about my dad, I think about him in the way I used to look at him as a little girl. This strong, tall man who, walked with a swagger and was self-determined and super ambitious. And, it's just been really, really hard. It's hard when you feel like you're the one who holds a lot of the emotional weight. And sometimes I have felt guilty for making certain choices with my life that have created distance between us. So now, like we're states apart from each other. We see each other for holidays and stuff, but the rest of the year, it's been challenging. And I've kind of beaten myself up a lot about it. I don't know when the time is going to come. And I feel like so much time has been stolen from us. So that has been a challenging part of my 2024 as well, is just coming to grips with the fact that so many of my elders are either passing away or they are aging. And eventually, I guess I will become the elder at some point when I still very much feel like a child. And then there was the election. A very controversial topic, but something that impacted me greatly in this pivot journey and in the journey to discovering or rediscovering my life's purpose. This election was truly for the history books, one for the history books. And I'm going to put it on record that I was a part of the 92%. Okay. Whether you agree with her, whether you liked her as a candidate or not, I personally identified with Kamala Harris. I personally saw a lot of myself in her. for various reasons. Obviously, she is an attorney. She's a Black attorney, which some people would like to put that up for debate, but we're not going to do that. Okay. She's a Black woman. She's a woman who's had to face some incredible challenges and odds over the course of her life and also the course of her career. She is the first Black female vice president. And so she is kind of the epitome of the success that someone who looks like me can achieve in this country. She is overqualified, as so many of us are. And still that wasn't good enough. And really, that is the story of so many Black people in corporate, but also the story of so many Black women. Black women are some of the highest educated in this country, overly educated. We won't apply to a position if we don't feel like we fill at least 75% of the job specifications. You know, it's a running joke that we will go and get degrees and certifications and all of that because we're bored. But we are held to an incredibly different standard than a lot of other people in society. And so watching things play out, these are my personal feelings, my personal experiences. This is not reflective of anyone else, any organization that I might be a part of or affiliated with. This is my personal feelings. Watching how this has all played out was very triggering for me as a Black woman because it makes you feel like your best isn't good enough. And I wrestled with that for weeks. For weeks, I was in a depression. To be honest, by the time you guys hear this, the election results will be certified. And I'm still just kind of like, wow, okay. And then finally I got to a place where I said, I'm going to give my best anyways. I'm going to do it anyways. And it made me think of, what is my higher calling? What do I need to be out here doing? Right? So that the next generation can benefit in ways that my generation didn't. Because the very people that sit and call millennials entitled and lazy and, you know, uneducated, I guess, these are the people who left the world in the state that it's in. They gave us the hand from the deck of cards that they shuffled. We need to be change makers. And it made me realize that I have to figure out what that looks like for me. I've toyed with a lot of different ideas. Do I run for public office? Do I get involved in a nonprofit? Like, do I do more like election protection, voter registration, voter education type stuff, civic engagement type of things? And then it made me think about this podcast again. You know, if this is what God has for me to do, the best thing that I can do is follow through on the vision. And everyone has different feelings about the outcome of the election. I'm just sharing mine personally. But what I will say is that this has made me braver and more determined to pivot my life and to do something that when my number is called on my dying day, I can leave this earth knowing that I put something into it. I left a legacy. I did something that was meaningful. And if I can just help one person, I've done what I needed to do. You know, and that's pretty much how I ended 2024. The election was in November. Then we went straight into the holiday. My Thanksgiving was pretty quiet. Me and my boyfriend just stayed at home. I cooked a little bit. But Christmas, I went back to Florida for about a week, spent it with my family, saw some friends I hadn't seen in a while. It was the rest and reset that I needed. Well, I will say I didn't get much rest because I was trying to see everybody. Everybody was all over the state, but it was the reset that I needed. And I started 2025 in rest. I find that when I press for things going into the new year, I go into the new year burnt out. I wanted to come into 2025 with a sense of peace and rest so I could refresh and be my best self as I start to push towards all the things that I am trying to accomplish for the new year. And I hope that more people take on that attitude of resting and not feeling as though rest is laziness, not feeling as though rest is something that is a reward or overworking. Because that's not what we do when we go to the gym. You take rest days so that your muscles have time to repair and show you all the gains that come from the heavy lifting. It's the same thing with our minds and our emotions and our spirit. We have to take time for rest. Rest is deserved, it's not earned. So that's exactly what I did coming into 2025, and I feel great about it. So in 2025, my word for this year is bold. To be bold, to do bold things and make bold choices and be bold in the steps I take to achieve my dreams. Just going for the thing, not overthinking things, not being too scared to try, just doing it. Because what is the worst that could really happen, right? I have a few goals that I actually did take the time to write out prior to the end of 2024 going into 2025. I have some health and fitness goals for myself. Um, there's a certain amount of weight that I would like to lose by the end of the year, but more so, I want to maintain the consistency that I built in the second half of 2024, where I really kind of focused on strength training and building strength in the gym. But I also healed my relationship with food because I had been a chronic dieter up until that point. I've done almost every diet in the book, and I really threw myself out of whack. But I realized by working with my personal trainer that a lot of my food decisions were coming from a very unhealthy relationship with food, being scared to eat, being scared to gain weight because I was eating. And so I wasn't feeding myself adequately. And so we actually went into a strength building phase and a muscle building phase that focused on me eating more and not less to reset my body and reset my mind and then prepare for a fat loss phase. So now I'm in the fat loss phase. I am excited. I am hungry, but I'm excited because I built a really good framework in the second half of last year that I know if I just continue to show up every day and do what it is that I need to do, I'm going to reach that. So my plan is I'm going to be in that gym. I'm be in that gym. I'm getting my steps in. My goal is to get 10,000 steps a day. Right. And then I have some fitness goals. I'm trying to do pull-ups. I know a lot of women don't know how to do that. In business, obviously, I want to continue this podcast. I want to grow our community. I would love to hit 1,000 downloads per episode. I would love by the end of the year, crossing my fingers, to have 5,000 people subscribe to the YouTube channel. But a leg of my pivot that I would like to share with you guys is that I want to help to coach people who are also looking to pivot. Mid-career millennials who have come to a juncture in the road where they realize that they're doing something for money that does not actually align with who they are as a person. And they want to rediscover who they are so that they can find something or develop something that is better aligned with their personal goals and values. I would like to be a pivot coach. But I also am extremely passionate about increasing the number of Black attorneys. So, along with being a pivot coach, I also want to start coaching pre law and law students and helping them navigate the journey of law school. So, by the end of this year, my goal is to launch those services and to start getting clients that I can work with and really help and see a tangible benefit to all of the knowledge and expertise that I have. One of the things that I rewarded myself with this year as well is voice lessons. So if you are a faithful listener, then you know I talked about in episode 1 how I even became a lawyer in the first place. And you will also know that being a lawyer was not actually what I wanted to do. I was a classically trained singer. I used to do musical theater. I absolutely loved it. And I ended up letting music go to an extent, and kind of letting those dreams go as well. I'm back to it because I feel like it's really important on this second leg of life where I'm pursuing my dream life to feed the passions that I have that are not necessarily tied to money. I've always loved music. I've always loved the arts. And so I gifted myself voice lessons just so that I can learn where I'm at now musically, but then also gain the confidence to start singing again. Yeah. So that is something I'm really excited about. I started vocal coaching already. I had my first session last week, like right after the new year. And I was so excited. I was geeked. I was very, very nervous because it's been years since I worked with a vocal coach. But I'm super excited for the growth that will come from that. And maybe I'll share it with y'all one day. I don't know. I don't know. But those are some of my goals for 2025. I feel like even with some of the chaos that 2024 brought, 2025 feels different. It feels different. I'm coming into the new year with a lot of anticipation and a lot of expectancy for what can happen. I think when you challenge yourself to do hard things and you prove that you have the ability to do it, it just makes you want to do hard things again because it's like, well, how far can I really go? It really builds your confidence. And so if you are someone who is sitting on the fence about things because you're afraid, I really challenge you to just go ahead and jump off the porch with it. Like, do it. Prove to yourself that you can do it. And in doing that hard thing, it's going to open doors for you. And it's going to make you even more bold and courageous to do other hard things. Before you know it, you won't even recognize yourself or your life. You'll be living the life you've always wanted just because you made the choice to challenge yourself to do hard things. So it's a new year, and we love to say new year, new me. This year, I'm saying new year, better me. I love myself. I am whole just the way I am. But I know that there's so much more that I could be doing. And so in this new year, I'm going to create a better me. I am going to procrastinate less, challenge myself more. I'm going to love myself more and talk badly about myself and to myself less. I'm going to show up more for myself and not put myself on the back burner. I'm going to show up more for the people who show up for me and do less worrying about the relationships that don't serve me and the people that show me that they don't have the ability to be there or to be what I need in that relationship. Before you start doing vision boards and goal setting and all of that, I want you to think about what your perfect life looks like. What does that look like from start to finish? What does it feel like? Find words that align with values that align with that perfect life. Make the vision in your head very clear, and then let your goals be a reverse engineering of that perfect life so that you have the steps that you need need to get from where you are now to where it is that you're trying to go. Okay. You want to create clear and meaningful goals for yourself. And you want to do smart goals, goals that you can measure, goals that are sustainable, goals that are realistic in the time frame that you want to achieve them. You want to focus on showing up. Consistency is key. The most successful people weren't successful because they were just lucky. They were successful because they were consistent. I won't lie and sit here and act like having a small amount of listeners or subscribers to the YouTube or a small follower count on social media doesn't make me feel like I'm doing something wrong. That would be a lie. I battle with that thought, but then I also remember too that everyone starts from somewhere. If you take the time to go through your favorite creator's YouTube channel and go all the way back to the very first video that they had, they probably have more views now, but you will be able to see the people that started from the bottom, down to like the equipment that they use, the backdrops, all of these things that we feel like if we don't have it, we won't be successful. No, the difference between you and them is that they never quit. They kept going. They kept learning. They kept trying different things, different methods, different techniques until they found what worked. And when it worked, it really worked for them. Number one, don't prevent yourself from going towards a dream because you feel like you don't have what it takes. Even if that's physical stuff, you don't need much, right? Go ahead and start with what you have, but just start. And then number two, don't allow where you are now to define where it is that you can be. Continue to show up every day. Really, consistency is just keeping the promises that you made to yourself. Aren't you worth keeping your promises? Show up consistently and don't worry about the numbers. The more visible you become is the more people will see. And we want progress. We don't want perfection. So don't worry about how it looks now. We can fix it as we go, but just make sure that you're progressing and make sure that you're consistent. And in all of this, practice grace for yourself, self-compassion, and be open to change. We really feel like we have to have everything figured out. Like we have to know what tomorrow is going to look like. We have to know what it is that we want for ourselves. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you don't. Enjoy the journey of discovery if you don't know, but allow yourself to go on that journey. Don't allow yourself to stay complacent because you don't have answers. The answers will come. Okay. So be open to embracing change, being adaptable, being coachable, but most importantly, give yourself grace from day to day. You're going to make mistakes. Sometimes you're going to fall short, but don't let a bad moment become a bad day, become a bad month, become a bad day. Okay. So I'm really, really grateful for 2024 and all that it brought, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, and for all that it taught. But I'm really excited for 2025. And again, I'm so grateful to all of you guys for being here, for listening, for your feedback. I am really, really excited to grow this community. I can't wait to see where we will be this time in 2026. I can't wait to open myself up to more of you guys, to helping you if you are in a pivot journey yourself. If you are a law student that maybe is listening to me, or a pre-law student, or someone who's even thinking about the law and you're listening to this podcast right now, like, I can't wait until I'm in a position to tangibly help you guys and meet you guys where you are. I'm just really excited for this year and the potential that it has. And I hope that you guys are just as excited as well. So again, thank you guys so much for listening to Redefine Radio. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, pretty much any streaming platform. You can also find us on YouTube at Redefined Radio. I don't know how long TikTok will be around. Prayerfully, it ain't going nowhere. But for as long as it is around, you can follow me on TikTok at Dani Lyn Redefined. So DANILYN_redefined. And that is on TikTok and on Instagram. Please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. And I really want to get you guys' feedback on whether or not you're liking the podcast, maybe some ideas for episodes that you want to hear on the podcast. So if you don't leave me a comment via the streaming platforms or on YouTube, please feel free to send me an email at redefinedradiopod@gmail.com. But thank you once again for joining, and I will see you guys in the next episode.